PI, 14 minutes past 7 o'clock. If you didn't know, the Green Party and more than 30 university student unions have launched an inquiry into student wellbeing. The People's Inquiry into Student Wellbeing will gather information about issues with student welfare that will hopefully encourage better policies. One of the student associations supporting the inquiry is none other than Otago University Students Association. So joining us now is their president, Melissa Lama. With that, I say malole and welcome to the show.
Malolele, malota mahi pabongini.
So good to have you on the show this morning, Melissa. Thank you very much for letting us know a little bit about what's happening in regards to this whole student well-being. The inquiry actually, gathers information about issues of student welfare. I mean, what are some of the issues that maybe your university students have actually approached you or expressed to you about?
Yeah, so at the moment there's a lot of, diverse issues and complex issues for our students, and obviously COVID being a big one for us. But I think the usual stuff that has happened prior to COVID, which is like financial and income accessibility. And obviously with COVID, that's made it harder because in Dunedin was so residential, and casual jobs through events is how they make that extra money on top of any student allowance they receive. And so that's been quite difficult for our students. But also the isolation of being away from family and not knowing whether study's going to be online, offline, whether to go back home. Those are sort of the contributors to our students' wellbeing at the moment. Yeah.
I think, and that sounds very common across the board. Are the issues sort of same across maybe ethnic groups? Like, do you see anything specific that you've noticed about maybe for our Pacifica students, though, the issues that they've been experiencing?
Yeah, definitely. I think for our Pacifica students, it's the sense of community that they usually have. And, in times where we feel like we can just go back home, it's easy, right? You ring family and they find a way for you to go home as a student. But obviously hardship is across the board for everybody. And so for our students, they recognise that staying put and doing what they can within their own studies is a major contribution to that. But I think for our Pacifica students here, staying together and doing as much as they can within COVID guidelines, which would either be through fellowship or online fellowship, setting up Zooms where they can just talk about anything and everything has been a big one. But also we see a lot of food hardships come in for our PR students as well, which OUSA has helped through welfare packages. And I'm fortunate enough that some of our NGOs here have also reached out and helped with our student needs. Yeah.
I like that. Melissa, of course, being the president there of the Otago University's, student association there, why was it important, though, for you guys to be part of this whole collective body of students associations across Aotearoa, to actually unite for this?
Yeah, I think for us down here at Otago, we recognise that we have a point of difference as a region. But also we believe that the collective voice at a national level is so important if we're trying to address inequities at that high level policy making, decision making platform. And what we're essentially trying to do is bring our grassroots voices and showing them what their policies mean in practice when we live down here. And that is through lived experience, but also how inactive or inaccessible some of the policies are, and how it makes it hard for us to not only come to uni but also maintain and retain our position as students as well.
Which, when you think about it, when university students, you would think that these policies should already be in place. Now, we've got the likes of MB, right, the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. They've warned at least 50,000 New Zealanders will go in search of better pay and living conditions overseas. Do you think that this is the case or feeling amongst the students there at Otago? Do they feel that they would want to leave New Zealand in search of, better opportunities?
Yeah, it's not necessarily something that I've consulted on specifically with students, to be honest. But I think there is a bit of an urge to explore, but also make the most of opportunities that are out there. I don't necessarily think, or haven't heard that it's due to pay and possibly better income opportunities, but I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. For myself, I do hope to eventually go overseas and do some form of work in different countries. And again, it is to be honest, it is strategic in the sense of possibly making more money, but also gaining more experience in a different space for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. If you're tuning in, we're catching up with Otago University Students Association President Melissa Lama. Melissa, what do you hope will actually come out of this inquiry?
I hope that through the stories shared and young people putting in the effort, the resource and capacity to give their voice to the inquiry, that the government actually listen. And I understand when we talk about resource allocation from a government perspective that,
Yeah.
you got to think quite universal, right? And so, but I do want them to look specifically at our hard, at our most vulnerable communities
Yeah.
within the student population. And that's our disability students as well as our Pacifica, Māori and refugee communities. I think it's really important that we identify what a student looks like in 2022 post-COVID. And so I hope through this inquiry that everybody in a decision-making position, whether in Parliament or policy making, actually take the time to understand what we're trying to say, but also value what we're giving you as well. So, because it is going to be a lot of work from an association side
Yeah.
to put this in.
Absolutely. And if obviously, if we can rally around, what you guys are wanting to achieve out of this inquiry, what can our community and Pacifica students do to support, the student association?
Yeah, I think it's creating a safe space or encouraging your kids or the young ones in, or anybody who's in tertiary education to really take part in the survey, to trust the process in the sense that we will look after your voices that are given to the inquiry. And when I say we will, we're talking about the New Zealand University Students Association and its council members. And I think it's important that we do our best to make this as good as possible. Because once we produce something like this, there is no excuse for anybody in a position of power to turn around and say, we're still unsure what the needs are, The hope is that to them, and then from there we can look at the tangible actions and reactions to what we put forward. And if it's not good enough, then we look at what else we do next. Yeah.
Back to that drawing board. Hey, look, Melissa, it's always great to have you on the show. Really appreciate a little bit of insight into this, and we hope that we do find some good solutions and better policies for our students. But thank you very much again for being on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
No worries.